so I can post it for you too.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm just going to do that whole thing again, and it's a good review anyway. I'm going to go here. I'm in poly modeling, and I want this set to modeling. Most of the time, you don't want it on anything else. Poly modeling, modeling. And I'm clicking on the cube. The cube comes into the middle. If I hit F, it fits it. If you hit A, it fits all objects. I only have the one object. Here in my channel box, which I used to call properties, if I scroll down, this polycube has width, height, depth, and the divisions. If I marquee and go here and I say 3, you can make a Rubik's Cube. Now, sometimes you want these segments and sometimes you don't. If you're doing something for a game, you kind of want to keep the poly count low. But if you're doing it to render and make a movie, then the poly count can be high. But notice if I press on this, I can go to vertices, faces. I don't use vertice faces as much. Kind of opens it up so it's a little easier to select. I just have never gotten used to it. It might be very good. But if I go to vertices, if I grab this, then I can move just that vertex, and I can grab the other one and move it in a different direction. And you notice you can start making things. Now what this is a staple remover.
Yep.
Almost. So, but you can start looking at things and you can say, I can modify this. So there's kind of a challenge to figure out what you can do. Now, if I do move these, and then I say, I really want more segments. This doesn't work well because those are moved and there weren't segments ahead of time. So if I come in here and I say I want 5 segments and I mark it all 3, so I get it all away. See what happens? Because those segments were there, and then if I move these, it throws in the segments and says, well, you must have been moving this vertex. So if you want to change the number of segments on an object,
you've got to do it in the beginning.
You need to decide in the beginning. Otherwise, it's going to give you something that's unpredictable. Okay. Now this width and height and depth, that's 1 unit. Now in my preferences under Windows to the preferences, it's under here, settings and preferences. If I go in and I look at units, mine's probably set to centimeters. So I think it's down here under undos. I've got it set to infinite, which could bog things down eventually. I think if you set it to 100, you might be better off. The time slider here tells me frames per second, and they normally do it at 24. But everybody's animating things at 60 frames per second, Spielberg. But I sometimes do things at the 12 just because I'm using them for the web. It makes them smaller. So selection. So in here, there is one of these that tells you the units. And I always forget, but I will remember from now on because you will remind me. It might be settings. And so mine's set to centimeters. But if you prefer to work in inches, meters, yards, feet, you could. I like centimeters. They work fine, or meters. Mm-hmm. If you wanted to make this the actual size, you wanted to make a spaceship that was 8 meters across, which is pretty big, 24 feet about, you could do it. Or if you were going to make something to 3D print, you could do it. So if this is set to 1 and my unit is centimeters, notice it also has the up axis as Y. Mm-hmm. In CAD systems, it has the up axis as Z, which is confusing. A lot of 3D printers, the up axis is Z. So if I bring this into a 3D printer, it's always going to be rotated 90 degrees wrong, and I just have to rotate it in the 3D printer. So
interesting. That's a good thing to remember.
Yeah, you might want Z up. CAD systems are all Z up, but animation's all Y up. So it's kind of weird. Now, so this is 100%. So if I want to make this width 2 times as much, I can put 2 in and I have it 2 times as wide. If I want to make the height 2 times, and the depth 2 times. So you can see that you can make a box of any size and dimension. Let's see.
And the more detail you want would be more segments, right?
More segments, depending upon what you're trying to make. If you're trying to keep it square, you probably don't need all the segments.
All right.
But let's just say this, that I've done this and I've decided I liked it. I can come in here and you can duplicate this, Control D, and notice the checkerboards. What did I say about the checkerboards when you duplicated something?
You always got to move it, right?
You always move it. Good. So because it's going to give the textures really odd because it doesn't know which one to put the texture on, and it confuses Maya, and you don't want to confuse Maya because it fights back. So this one, notice if I click on this one, since I duplicated it, it has no settings because it's just the original one that has those settings.
Interesting. So it's only duplicating the size?
It's duplicating the size and the segments, but it doesn't let you change it at all.
Okay.
So that's something to think about. Now notice this has been translated on the X 2 centimeters, almost 3 centimeters. See the grids, 1, 2, 3, moved it over 3 centimeters. And if I snapped, which I could snap and move it over. Come on, you can snap. Come on, you're being stubborn. All right, he's being stubborn. Let me zoom out just a little bit, Alt and my left mouse. And it should snap, but if it gets stubborn, try turning some of these off. There it is. And I can snap it. It's not snapping right now, but you can always type it in too. If you want it 4 centimeters over, you can type it in. So if you like using numbers, you can certainly do that.
Okay.
Now, one thing that Maya doesn't like, especially if you go E and you rotate this, and you can't use the shift key to go to 90. Well, yeah, it doesn't. But you can type it in 90. Now, trying to figure out which axis you rotate it, you've got 3 choices. So if you rotate the X and you didn't want to rotate that one, go back and rotate the Z. And if you didn't like that one, go back and rotate the Y. And if you're
just kind of mess with it.
If you're on the ball, you're only going to have to rotate it 3 times to get it the way you want it to be. Now with the cube, doesn't really matter as much, but notice it's remembering these things. And one problem that Maya has, and I don't know why they haven't changed it, but if it remembers these things, when you go to animate it, it sometimes remembers that it was rotated wrong. And so if you look at this, and I want to move this on the y-axis, which is up, and I type in 2, it's moving on the y-axis, but it really doesn't know which way y is. Well, I rotated it enough that it does. Let me go E and rotate it this way. When you do that, and I'll go 180 just to be a perfect alignment. If I hit W, it sometimes gets confused and it doesn't know which direction Y is, okay? It's treating me badly because it's actually remembering. But in most cases, before you animate things, you want to go over here and under Modify, under Edit, you want to delete by type History. And then under Modify, do you have to do that with Macs?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Watch when I freeze transformations. So it says that this is the new 000 for this object. And so if I ever wanted to get exactly back to this position, I just have to type in 0, 0, 0, and it'll go exactly back to that position. So that's a good thing.
Yes, especially if you're modeling multiple things in a scene and you need everything precisely in a certain spot. Right.
Yeah, so freezing the transformation, but also before you animate, you have to do it, or it has this little thing where it remembers and it gives you a weird twist when you didn't need it. Also, it does a thing sometimes called gimbal lock, and I first heard it in Apollo 13 where they're shooting the retros and they're going all over the place. Oh, we're reaching gimbal lock. It's where mechanical devices actually go so far that they can't turn anymore if you had a crane or something like that. And this is actually a virtual gimbal lock, which is not good. It happens when you least expect it. So before you animate things, make sure you edit, delete by type history, and then modify. So if I rotated this, I'm hitting E and rotating it 45. Doesn't have to be 45, but 45. 456. I want to go 45. And hitting enter. Then if I froze the transformations under modify, it would keep this as this original position. So to move these things, Alt key, left mouse rotates your scene. Notice how it's rotating the scene and that object's not really centered. If you hit F and you hold the Alt key and rotate it, it's actually going to be better centered. I'm going to hit F and rotate it. And so it helps you. If I hit A, it shows both of them in the center. So there's just a couple quick keys, F and A. F fits one object, A fits all objects. So when you rotate these things, if I double click on the rotate tool, it's saying I'm doing object rotation. Well, in this case, the object is lined up exactly with the virtual plane. So if I go to world, the rotation is exactly the same. But notice here when I go to object and world, they're the same. Now, component is actually in this case the same because it hasn't been rotated. But if I go to this one and look at it, I'm setting this to world, and I'll hit W and see how that lines up with the world axis. So I can move it forward or right and left or up and down, Control Z. But if I go here to component, actually, let me go here to object. That's because I froze the transformation. So let me do this one. I'm learning. I'll go here and then I'll go to W, which is the move tool. See how the move tool is off axis?
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm moving it in accordance to object orientation.
And not world.
Not world. Okay. I can move this according to the world. And they also have component, which in this case is going to be the same as object, though you can't change it. And if you wanted to move it at a really weird angle, you can actually come in to custom, and you can change these. I'll just go 20 and hit enter. See how it moved it over? And I can also go E, and if I change it, let's go 10. I can go like that. Notice how this is angled. So you can actually make it rotate custom.
Oh, wow.
Now, I don't do that a lot, but sometimes if something comes up like landing gear and then they have to rotate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you might change that to a custom one.
Oh, wow, that's pretty detailed on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in Maya, but once you learn it, it's very helpful. me just answer this text message. I'm painting neighbor's house because they didn't trust other people to paint it. And I was pressure washing it today. I happen to have a pressure washer. Have never used it. I've had it for 40 years and it works really well. But it's it's tiring.
Oh yeah, I bet. Came in handy though, finally.
Yeah, I mean, I put in a couple hours and said, no, forget this. I'll come back on Monday. It'll be a little cooler. Though pressure washing, you get a little wet, so it's not as hot as it could be. So you have all these different things. Now, I've never really used gimbal or gimbal at all. So I'll have to look up gimbal and see. It's never come in handy. So with these, your right mouse goes to object mode, then you can hit delete.
Oh, okay.
Undo is Command Z. Your right mouse goes to edge, and so you can grab a particular edge. And again, with the move tool or rotate tool, you can say world if you wanted to move on the world, and I'll go W. And you can see I can move that edge. It gives you a completely different feel than if you moved a vertice. Now, there is an interesting thing that happens with these objects if you move them past the boundaries.
Oh yeah, kind of like some black.
Yeah, you don't want to do that because what you're doing is you're making the object non-planar, which means not flat. You can do that with vertices also. If you pull them too much, they go non-planar. See where it's turning black?
Yeah, even past stretching.
Yeah. So I'm going to go Control Z and put these back to where they are or were. These are quads. And if you have a chair that has 4 legs, and I'll have to go like this, 4 legs, if one's a little shorter, it's going to wobble. And so that becomes non-planar. It's not a flat surface. Have you ever milked a cow?
I have not.
Well, there's a couple things about milking a cow. They normally use a 3-legged stool. Why do you think they have a 3-legged stool?
Easier to get like a better grip, you know, like hold yourself down.
If it has 3 legs, it's always flat. If it has 4 legs, it's not flat. Now, it might be tip over, but 3 legs is always flat. So when you do something for a game, you would take this object and under, I think it's under modify, mesh, you can triangulate it. So if you start pulling these around, they're always flat. If I go to vertice here and I pull this one up, see how I'm not getting the black?
Mm-hmm.
Because 3 points are always planar or flat. Now, I can push it inside out and mess it up, but for games, they go with triangles because they don't become non-planar. Now, I like working with quads. I find that you have less polygons. Now, notice if I go Control Z here and go all back to here, if I go to right mouse face, and that becomes second nature after a while, and select it all. This heads up display, which is under mesh, it's under Windows. It's called heads up display. Where is it? Is it display? Heads up display. Notice you can go to the top and tear it off. And I have camera names, cap locks. I have poly count is the one I really like. And you have this view axis. So notice how many polys I have, which are faces. I have 54. So it's 9 times 9 times 9, 6 times 6 times 9, 54. But if I triangulate this, I'm going to object mode, right mouse, object mode, mesh, triangulate. and I grab the faces. I have
Loads more.
108 because it's making the quads into triangles. So if you're trying to keep a lower poly count, you want to remember that when you triangulate it for a game, it's going to double the poly count. So I'm going to undo this and go back until it's triangles. Now, you can actually go and grab an individual face. You can move it. Start making something interesting. Maybe this is a house with a roof. You can color each individual polygon a different color. So if you did want to make this look like a Rubik's Cube, you could. Now, the thing I really like, my favorite tool, and this is all angled weird, so let me just do this. I'm going to select in both object mode, hold the shift key, get the other object. I'm going to delete them and just put the cube back in.
Just start again.
Yeah, and rotate this so that the Y is up. See how the Y is upside down? If you hit F.
And the Z's forward.
Is forward. And then you can start it. It just makes your life easier. You can rotate things afterwards. If you made your whole blimp upside down and backwards, it would be a submarine, and you just have to rotate it. So here, if I go to face and I click on it, one of my favorite tools in poly modeling is this extrude tool. Now, if I hold down the space bar, there's probably an extrude tool here under edit mesh, or maybe under mesh, or is it under tool? So I don't know exactly where it is. So I would have to find it. So maybe I need to keep doing it. So it's probably edit mesh. Nope. So I'd have to find it, but I know it's right here. If I click on it, it'll extrude, and right now it's extruding locally. So if this was angled, it would extrude at an angle. But if I click,
Okay.
it's going to extrude globally. See how the axis is slightly different? Locally and globally.
Okay. Up and to the right.
Yeah. So,
12 and 3.
Yeah. So I can bring this. It actually, in this case, doesn't make a difference. But if something was angled, it would extrude it in an angle if it was local. So
Okay.
this one I'm going to pull up, and notice you can put segments wherever you want them to be. And so you can start making things. If I click the cube on the outside, it activates the center, and I can make this smaller. So I'm making a house, but I want a roof on it, and I want a chimney. So with my, if you hit G, it does the last tool again. And I think of G as again. And I can pull this up.
Good way.
So you can see I can start making a chimney on the top of this house, rather large chimney.
Super tall.
Super tall. But I can click here if I want it to be a little tapered using the center. Now you can make it narrower this way if you wanted to.
Just by turning, let's see.
Yeah, maybe this is I used to smoke those little cigars with the plastic Tipperellos. I don't smoke it. I only did it when I was in drum corps and we were on the weekend and people were just being weird. And I didn't do it anymore because smoking's so horrible. So. Okay.
Yeah, I'm still a little bit of a smoker with a vape, but I've changed from doing a pack, like a pack of actual cigarettes. So saved a little money.
The vape is so much better. My mom, when I was probably about 6, she took the 3 kids and we went out and we walked around the block. But when we got back, she goes, "Oh, a pack of cigarettes on the porch." Now, nobody leaves a pack of cigarettes on the porch, but I'm 6, my brother's 8, my sister's like maybe 4. And so she takes us into the kitchen and she lights up about 6 cigarettes and puts them in her mouth and she's puffing away. Her whole kitchen is full of smoke detectors back then. And she's puffing away and coughing and wheezing like a mad woman. And my mom was very calm and never did anything like that. And we're all crying and going, "You're gonna die, you're gonna die." And just crying. And she did this for the longest time, the whole kitchen full of smoke. And none of us smoked after that.
Wow. So see, it made the impression she intended it to.
She intended to. I hit F on the top of this. And I'm so glad that she did that. Now, you know, we did cigars when we were out and, you know, just hanging out and just to be cool, but never really got addicted to it, thank goodness. They say cigarette smoking is more addictive than heroin, but not fentanyl. Anyway, fentanyl kills you quick.
Yeah, that.
Not good. So here I can do this extrude tool, but if I hit G.
G for the last tool.
The last tool, but I'm going to undo because I don't want, if you use this tool, if you click it twice, then it gives you 2 segments, which you don't necessarily want. So whenever you use this tool, you click it and then you want to move it, just like if you duplicate something.
Okay, so you immediately want to move it. I think that's what happened on, say.
Yeah, and it can give you problems. So notice I can shape the top of my chimney. And I can also go here and if I hit G again, and that works for any of the tools, whether it's move, rotate, or whatever you're doing here. So I can push this in, G, or you can click the tool again. And normally you want to go global, but not always. And I can move this out and then move it down. And you can see that I've got this little lip inside there. If I click the cube and make it larger, now notice you don't want it to come out of the sides.
Yeah, when you see the black, that's it.
You could even go to wireframe by hitting 5. Let's see, 4 to see it if you want to, but sometimes wireframe's a little nondescript.
Yeah.
And then I can go G and move this all the way down. And so if you really wanted to, you could Control Z. I'm using the arrowheads to move this case, the blue one. You could even have this come through into the inside and delete this polygon right here. I'm just going to go delete. And if I go back to 5, you could actually take a camera, zoom down into this chimney, go in it like the exhaust pipe of a car, and come inside.
That's awesome. A little hollowed out.
Yeah, you can do that with someone's mouth or something like that. So I like that tool. I find it very helpful. And it gives you the segments exactly where you want. Now, if you wanted to see the inside of this, there's another, and I'm showing you a lot, and if you don't remember it all, that's fine. We're going to be reviewing these things. Here, if I go to X-ray under shading, you can see that I see it as almost a solid, and you can see the smokestack inside.
That's a little better than just the wireframe.
Yeah, the wireframe is kind of confusing sometimes. X-ray is good. You also have here under shading X-ray joints, which are your IK. If you're going to make something bend, then you can see the joints inside it, and it makes it a little easier. I can turn this off. Now, 4 is wireframe. 5 is solid view. 6 will show this with the texture on it. And 7 shows the light view. Why is it black?
Because there's no ambient light. You don't have a light in the scene. No light
of any kind. No ambient, no direct, no point light, no spotlight. So if I go here to rendering and I move this to rendering, they have the lights. This is ambient light. And if I double click on it here in the outliner, which is under Windows to outliner, I like it open most of the time. Makes things easier to select. This is at 100%. Ambient light, I think I told you last time, do you remember?
The default value, I don't remember that.
100, but
100.
0.3 is a good value for ambient light. They normally have
Okay.
it too high when they render things because they want to show all the detail. Right here and render this. Oops, it's remembering the last one. Let me click on the other one. Here. And I just got the ambient light. Okay. There's something here with the gear. They have a thing called Arnold, and you have to bump the light up like 8 times for Arnold. I don't use Arnold as much. Sometimes with fogs and things like that, Arnold's really good, but I like this Maya hardware. And then I can click the eye.
Yeah, when I installed it, it asked about a few extra things, and I wasn't sure. Yeah. And I think Arnold was one of them.
And there it is with the ambient light. But I can also come in a directional light, which I like to notice. This gives you a handle, and sometimes it gives you a handle and sometimes it doesn't. I'm going to go R and just make the light bigger so I can see the arrows. And so if I'm in 7, doesn't like my cap locks, 7. Use the lights option now, press 5. My cap lock is on 7. Hey, why are you doing that? I'm going to close this and I should be able to look at the light view. Shading display is now on, press 4. So something's going on weird with me. So when this happens, save scene, but what we did before with your blimp is we made a project window.
That's right, a project.
And we went new, and then we accepted, and you told it where to go here with the folder. So it's going to your blimp folder. In this case, I will just go File, Set Project, and I will go to Up, and I'll go to Maya folder, and we had a Joe Blimp here.
Yes, and I have mini blimp tries in my folder.
Yes. So if I set it to Joe Blimp, and I save this chimney, save scene, it will automatically go into Joe Blimp scenes.
Okay, so set.
Chimney. Good. I only saved this because it was doing something screwy for me. Okay. And it still is. It's doing this wireframe thing. So I'm just going to go File, Open Scene, and I'm going to open Chimney again, continue. And I find that that should fix things. And notice how it fixed things.
You're just getting bogged down.
Yeah, probably set to infinite is the problem. And so I would set yours to 100 undos instead of infinite.
Okay.
And you can do that in preferences under window to settings and preferences. So now if I hit 5, solid 6 would be a color if I had it on there, and 7 shows me the light view. This light, when I click on it, it opens up over here. You can double click on it here in the outliner, and we can change the value on this, maybe 0.75, 75%, and hit enter. And so if I render it again, you can see that we're getting some definition between the ambient light and the direct light. Now, I'm going to get rid of this direct light, and I'm just going to go up here to a spotlight. Now, the thing with the spotlights that's nice, and it's inside here so you can't see it as well. We could go 4 and kind of look at it, or 7. I'm going to go back to 7. See, it's being stupid again. So I don't know why. But if we have the spotlight selected, you can go to this panel. And this is the only place I know this is. And you can look through selected. Now, this light is looking and it sees the big gray thing. So if I move it, and I can move this just like I move any other object while I'm looking through it, I can use the Alt key and the left mouse to zoom out. I can use the middle mouse holding it down to move up and down. You can also scroll the mouse to move in and out.
So you're the light.
And yeah, I'm like looking through a flashlight. I like thinking of it as a scope of a rifle, and it's right there. And so this spotlight has an intensity of 100%, which you could change. It also has a thing called the penumbra. That's the softness of the edge. So you can see I can make it soft or hard. And so if I rendered this, it's a soft edge. If I made the penumbra 0, then it's a hard edge. So if you're doing this kind of cartoony look.
Yeah.
I like a little bit of softness on it. So I'll just go here to a little softness. Now, all the lights, you can put color in them. So here the color, if I double click, I can pick a color. Now, the problem with this color window is at the very bottom, it says apply, done. But I always forget because it's at the very bottom. So if you change this, what color do you want it to be?
Green works. Green, red.
So we can go up here and pick a green color, move this into a nice kind of green screen color. You ever wanted that to drop out, you could do that in After Effects too. And I'll say done. Now, the problem with having a green spotlight is if this object's red and it's a green spotlight, it's going to look brown. So changing the color of the light is great, but you just need to know it's going to affect the color of all your other objects.
And all the textures on them at that time
all
too.
The textures, it's going to modify them slightly depending upon how light or dark your colors are. Notice I don't like this at the bottom. I have to go there. So the ambient light, I made a yellow color.
Okay. That's cool. You can edit that.
Done. And then the direct light, which I'll throw in again, I will make it blue, cyan, and I'll say done. And if you get to the point where these are all mixed together, it makes white light. So if I had 3 lights that were all mixed together, which I'll do the spotlight, and
then you can make a white light.
You can make a white light. It's different than color. It's the additive model. So you can duplicate these, Control D, and I'll just move it over, look through selected, and the Alt key moves it just like you're moving anything else. And if I made this spotlight RGB, red, green, blue, so I'll make this one red, kind of a magenta, and I think I needed to say done. There it is. You can see it there. See how it's getting a little whiter?
Getting a little bit of that overlap.
Yeah, and if I go spotlight, Control D, and I go look through selected, and I move it, Alt, put it over here. I'll scoot back a little bit, or in a bit.
Put mine on either side.
Yeah, and then I'll make this blue. And I'll say, hate this at the bottom. It should be at the top. So you're seeing that it's starting to get that color in the middle white. I think my red spotlight is not red enough. But you can see you can mix colors, which is, it's kind of fun. Now,
yeah, that's really cool.
With your textures and with your lights, if you click on this grid here, you can put different textures into your light. Like if I wanted this to have a checkerboard, I could put it into my light with white and black. Or I could, let me go to a different spotlight, this one, and click on this. You could actually find an image. Now, normally that image should be in your source image folder, but I'm going to go here to File, and I'm just going to search. And I'll go to my desktop because I've got some pictures here of bike rack. You see what I got here. VW. Go up. Here's a cat light, cat pose, butterfly cactus. Okay, there's a butterfly cactus. And this light will actually have that butterfly and cactus in it depending upon the intensity. The other lights are kind of messing with it, but I think it's this one here where it has.
Best way to make a bat light, huh?
You can make a bat light, what they call a phobo or a gel. I think it's called a phobo. I'm just going to bump the intensity down a bit and maybe get rid of the other lights and see if we can see it. Sometimes you have to play with it a little bit to get it to work.
Man, you can just do a whole bunch just with the lights in this.
Well, you
Crazy.
can. Now, if you look over here at the lights, see how it says visibility on or off? So you could go and set a keyframe S, and here at 20, set a keyframe at 21. I could tell my visibility to be off. You can type 0 or 1. 0 is off, or you could type on and off. And so my light is off. So the light is here, but then it goes off at, oh, I didn't set a keyframe. So I have to go 21 and set this to off. And then here with visibility, I use my right mouse, set the key selected. So now the light is on, off. So here it's off for a little while. S, go one frame more, turn the light on. It's 1. Then key the light. And so the light is on, off, on, off, on. You can change the color over time and key it. You can change the intensity so it gradually fades out, or you can have it blink. You could change the color of the light. You can do a lot of these things with objects too. You can turn the visibility of your Wonder Woman airplane to off, so it's invisible. With this, and I'll show you this, but you don't have to remember, and we'll call that a lesson. Under Windows, there's an animation editor and a graph editor. And you can see these keys here that are on and off. And it's visibility if you click on it. And you can actually turn these on or off here too. But if I go there and go to curves, I can say post infinity cycle. And if I use my Alt key to move out, just like, see how it's repeating it?
Saving you all the keyframing.
Yeah, so I don't have to do it. And no matter how long this is, it's just going to continue to blink on and off forever. Now, the thing I don't like about that cycling is that I can't turn it off at a certain point, but you could make a copy of this and render it from the same position where you turned it on all the time. So there are ways around that. Otherwise, you just have to copy and paste. So that
is awesome.
Next time we do a lesson, I'll have you buy me some KFC. I'll give you my information and we'll do it.
I was going to say, send me your information and I can, do you have Venmo or PayPal at all?
I got PayPal.
Okay.
Oh, you just want to send me money for the lunch?
Yeah, sure. That works out. Probably the best.
Like
my schedule's pretty crazy.
$10 or something like that. Okay. And that'll do. Okay.
Thank you so much, Doug. This is great. My actual idea for doing this, I really wanted to try to model my store. So.
Okay. You have a real store or a proposed store?
It's just a Best Buy. You know, the inside of a Best Buy. So.
Oh, okay. And that's where you work?
Yeah, that's where I work. That was going to be my big goal, but I was going to start working on, little pieces of shelving and, different things like that. So.
Okay, very cool. And those are they're a little simpler, so it's a good thing to start with.
I figured some of the shapes were kind of easy. I stare at them all day, so.
Okay, we can start doing that, and then you could animate yourself in there. We can make a person that has your image on it.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
All right, very good. I don't think I'm going to save this, Chimney, but
Okay.
I will save the video and probably post it.
Great, and I'll go back if I need to remember any of these.
Yeah, I'm busy tomorrow, so I probably won't do it till Sunday or Monday.
Oh yeah, no worries.
All right, you take care. And
thank you so much,
very
Doug.
much and if you know someone else who wants to join us, I would like to get 4 or 5 people. The 2 other people I have are kind of right in the middle of film school, and it's a little hard for them.
Okay, I can actually ask around at work. I think there might be some interest.
I'm trying to get people that are cool people
Okay.
that don't cause problems, people like you.
So, kind of chill, understanding, flexible.
If we get assholes, then I'll just stop teaching them. So, yeah.
So try to keep it as non-toxic as possible.
No, I don't want any drama at all.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
At college, I had drama, and I had to put it, but this I don't want to. No. All right, you take care. I'm going to stop.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, and you have a good weekend.
All right, you too. Have a great week.